Travers Week 2023, 13 races scheduled for Saturday from Saratoga, the spa. We're going to be taking a look at the Travers Stakes, also the Ballerina Stakes. You get the matchup, Echo Zulu versus Goodnight Olive. We have a throwdown in the Forgo, Goodnight and Elite Power in the rematch going 7 furlongs. Also on the turf, they'll be mowing the lawn on the Sword Dancer, all part of the stakes action on Saturday. And rounding it out, the 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. We've got the winner of the Woody Stevens. We've got Fort Bragg, winner of the Dwyer Stakes, and also New York Thunder, a recent winner of the Amsterdam Stakes, all lined up for go 7 furlongs at Saratoga. Part of a big card that includes 13 races on Saturday. Remember, if you're new, make sure to get your questions in. We'll take your best bets of the day coming up later on, your favorite that you think could lose on the day came on, and also Travers selections and picks as we go through some of these races on Saturday. So let's get started. First off, they're going to be painting the canoe for the 154th time this coming Saturday. 10 furlongs. It's known as the Midsummer Derby, and it has lined up the 3 winners of the Triple Crown races. We've got your Kentucky Derby winner, Mage. We've also got National Treasure, the winner of the Preakness Stakes, and the Belmont Stakes winner, Archangelo. It's the first time we've had runners from all 3 of the races since 2017, so it should be lining up for a good day of racing. 10 furlongs, a mile and a quarter. A little bit of a weather situation, a possibility of some rain on Saturday. In the prep race, the Jim Dandy, we did have a sloppy track in which Forte was able to win the Jim Dandy. Now, some of the matchups we're going to be looking forward to on Saturday is the matchup in the Ballerina. We've got Echo Zulu taking on Goodnight Olive. Of course, Goodnight Olive won the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint in 2022. Meanwhile, Echo Zulu was a winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies a couple of years ago. So that should be a good matchup. And then we've got Fort Bragg, New York Thunder, and also we've got the Woody Stevens winner in Arabian Lion. Now let's take a look at the latest news. On Wednesday at Saratoga, Luis Saez, he was injured when a horse he was riding fell down and he dislocated his collarbone. So he's going to be out indefinitely, at least 5 or 6 weeks. He is going to be off Mage. Now, he was scheduled to ride Mage on Saturday in the Travers. The new jockey for Mage is going to be Flavien Prat. And so that is a developing situation. Also, the other jockey switches, we've got Archangelo, who Javier Castellano won the Kentucky Derby with Mage. He won the Belmont Stakes with Archangelo, and now he is going to be staying on Archangelo here in the Travers Stakes. Then you've got Mage with Flavien Prat, and then Tapit Trice, who normally has Luis Saez, and Luis Saez was scheduled to go to Mage. Now Luis Saez is hurt, and Jose Ortiz is now going to be picking up the mount on Tapit Trice. So some jockey changes, all part of the action on Saturday. That's the latest update and a possibility of some rain in the forecast. And right away, we started off with the Speed King. He likes Disarm, Mage, and Forte for 3rd in the Travers. That, according to our insider, Will Morris, USA. I have not watched the Speed King. So the Speed King is out. He likes Disarm. I've got a preview of the Travers Stakes already up on the channel. We've also got a preview up of the Jerkins Stakes. But Javier Castellano, big efforts in the Travers Stakes over the years. He's picked up some big wins, and sometimes at a price, 6 Travers wins. Meanwhile, John Velasquez, who won the Preakness Stakes with National Treasure, he is good on the front end. He's won 3 Kentucky Derbies wire to wire. He's got 2 Travers wins. 2019, he won with Code of Honor. And then it had been 14 years since he previously won. That was with Flower Alley, of course, trained by Todd Pletcher. Todd Pletcher usually gets his horses to run well at 1.25 miles. He did win the Travers Stakes a couple of times. One of those wins was with Flower Alley. He also won with Stay Thirsty. So that's some of the developing situation. Trainer-wise, we've got Bill Mott, 0 for 11 in the Travers. Can he get off the duck? He's got Scotland. Scotland has ran 4 races. He's got 3 wins. He picked up a head win in his maiden special weight race. That was on the Fountain of Youth undercard. I was at Gulfstream Park that day. Nice effort from Scotland. Then he picked up a nice win over Cagliostro, who ended up running second in the Smarty Jones Stakes on Wednesday at Parks. And then Scotland winning the Curlin Stakes. That was a 99 speed figure on the Beyer scale the last time out. What was interesting is Scotland has ran 4 races, and his Beyer speed figure has gone up from an 86, then to a 94, then to a 94 in an allowance race at Churchill Downs, and then a 99 in the Curlin Stakes. So he's improved every single time on the track. Possibility with only 4 lifetime starts for a chance to improve again. Bob Baffert, of course, his big win in the Travers Stakes was with Arrowgate. He also trains National Treasure this year. Arrowgate ran one of the most impressive Travers Stakes a couple of years ago. So remember, if you have questions, make sure to get those in. We've got some other trainers. Steve Asmussen, he won last year the Travers Stakes with Epicenter. He comes back with Disarm. And of course, Disarm did not really fire in the Jim Dandy Stakes. Now, he did have to lay closer to the pace. It was a sloppy track. Maybe he catches a fast track. One thing to note, he does add blinkers here for the Travers Stakes, and he did win a maiden race by 6 lengths last year at Saratoga. Another question, how's Arcangelo in the rain? Forte is pretty good. Yes, Forte did win in the slop. I don't think it was his best race. I don't think he ran his best race in the slop, but at least it showed that he could win at Saratoga and he could win on a sloppy track. Now, Arcangelo, of course, he hasn't had a chance to go to a sloppy racetrack since his debut. He ran second in his debut in the slop. That was to A-Raj, and that was a very sloppy track that day. A-Raj was able to stay on the inside, and overall, that was a pretty loaded race with Arcangelo in that maiden race in the slop, and it was very sloppy that day at Gulfstream Park. Now, New York Racing Association announcing a 2-day pick 6. That is going to include the personal ensign on Friday, then the graded stakes races on Saturday. You've got the Forgo, the Jerkins, the Ballerina Stakes, the Sword Dancer, and the Travers Stakes. It is a 20-set ticket, and also it's a 15% takeout. So if you're playing on Friday and want to get a little bit of action in for Friday and Saturday, of course, you're not knowing the weather condition, and there possibility could be some scratches, but for 20 cents, it's worth taking a shot. It's some good quality races. If you've done the handicapping, the 2-day pick 6. Personal ensign, of course, on Friday. I've got a preview of that race up. We've got Nest, of course, 3 for 3 at Saratoga. She's taking on Clairiere. And you also get in the mix Secret Oath, who won the Kentucky Oaks in 2022. So if you're going to be playing the 2-day pick 6, what are some thoughts? Who are some possible singles on the day for that 2-day pick 6? Do you go lighter on Friday and maybe try to key Nest? Or do you try to key one of the big favorites on Saturday? In the 2 days, I think the biggest favorite is probably going to be Elite Power, and Nest is probably going to be the second biggest favorite on the 2 days. Now, the Travers Stakes has been announced. The draw was on Tuesday. Out of the 1 hole, you've got Forte. Arcangelo is in post position number 2. Tapit Trice, of course, he won the Tampa Bay Derby. He won an allowance race at Gulfstream. He won the Bluegrass Stakes, a grade 1 at Keeneland. He ran off the board in the Haskell Stakes, and he ran just behind Forte, 3rd in the Belmont Stakes. Now, National Treasure, he won the Preakness Stakes, had a long layoff going into that after running evenly in the Santa Anita Derby. And then he's got a nice long layoff, hasn't run since the Belmont Stakes. He set the pace that day. Disarm. Went up in class in the Jim Dandy. Fires with blinkers here in Steve Asmussen. And then you've got Scotland going for Bill Mott, who tries to get off the schneid here in the Travers Stakes, 0 for 11 lifetime. So those are the horses. 7 horses entered for the Travers Stakes. We're going to go over them horse by horse. If you've got any comments on each of the horses, make sure to get them in the comments. Of course, Forte, 7 for 9 lifetime. He's 2 for 3 at Saratoga. Big effort in the Jim Dandy the last time out with some slow fractions. He came off the pace. He carried 124 pounds. He's going to get 126 pounds here in the Travers Stakes on Saturday. His other effort at Saratoga, he ran first by 3 lengths. That was in the slop in the Hopeful Stakes to close out the meet last year. So Forte, 2 for 3 at Saratoga and 2 wins on sloppy tracks. He did lose in the Sanford Stakes last year at Saratoga. He ran off the board the only time he ever finished off the board. Now, that was a big effort. Will brings up the personal ensign race. She beat Winning Colors by a whisker, and that was also in the slop. Yes, I remember that race. Personal ensign getting up, remaining undefeated, defeating Winning Colors, of course, who had won the Kentucky Derby for the coach, D. Wayne Lucas. Now, Mage won the Kentucky Derby and was scheduled to possibly run in the Jim Dandy. They ended up going to the Travers, to the Haskell Stakes. By running in the Haskell Stakes, they get an extra week of rest before the Travers. I think he's probably better at 1.25 miles. He came rolling up second in the Haskell Stakes, running second to Go Rocket Ride. Go Rocket Ride is going to run next week in the Pacific Classic. And a new jockey for Mage, we've got Flavian Prat, who's going to be scheduled to ride Mage now on Saturday in the Travers Stakes. So that's a look at Forte, 7 for 9 lifetime. Of course, Arcangelo, 5-2 on the morning line. He's going to stick with Javier Castellano. Javier Castellano, 6 Travers wins, and overall going to be putting in a nice effort. I think he continues to train really well since the Belmont Stakes. A lot of workouts. And Mage, nothing wrong with him. The jockey, Luis Saez, was injured on Wednesday. Arcangelo out of that 2-post position, going to be ridden here, of course, going for Jenna Antonucci in the Belmont Stakes. Now, another horse to consider is Tapit Trice. He gets a new jockey. Tapit Trice ran a little bit flat. You know, he made a couple of moves in the Belmont Stakes. I thought he made a first move while running wide. Then he made a second move going into the turn. I thought not a great ride from Luis Saez that day. He also was wide while Arcangelo had the rail, so he gave up some ground. So now he cuts back to 1.25 miles after stretching out to 1.5 miles. Then he just never really fired in the Haskell. He was kind of ridden to stay in the pace. I think if he lays a little bit further back, I think 1.25 miles and Tapit Trice could be one to consider for an exacta or even for a couple of daily doubles. And Tapit Trice definitely one to consider in an exacta or even throw in the mix in the pick 5. Tapit Trice, of course, by Tapit. He goes back to blinkers on. He's never worn blinkers in any of his races. And we do got some horses kind of playing around with the blinkers. Forte, if you remember, did put on blinkers in the Jim Dandy to be closer to the pace. He ran down Saudi Crown in the final strides of that one. Meanwhile, National Treasure put on blinkers before the Preakness. He won the Preakness. Then he ran with blinkers on in the Belmont. Now National Treasure is going to take the blinkers off. And Tapit Trice puts the blinkers on, gets Jose Ortiz, a grade 1 winner in the Bluegrass Stakes. And Tapit Trice definitely should be able to run good at 1.25 miles. Now, Mage going out of post position number 4, definitely a shot in this race. Mage in this race, when you take a look at the contenders, won the Kentucky Derby, did it at 15-1 odds, was bet down a little bit in the Haskell, came rolling up for second. That was a good field. You had Arabian Night, you had Go Rocket Ride, who ran big, you had Extra Anejo, and Mage was able to lay off the pace. I think they want to make one run. He does got a burst of speed. He did go wire to wire in the maiden win, his first time out. That was with a different jockey. This time around, he'll be getting Flavian Prat on Saturday for the Travers. So that is a look at Mage out of post position number 4 on Saturday. So I think overall, Castellano is better at Saratoga. He's had a lot of Travers success. He's had some other success in some big races. Belmont, a 1.5-mile track, a little bit different circumference. Of course, he kind of had a couple of off years, but he's had a good comeback year in 2023 for Javier Castellano. Now, that is a look at Mage. National Treasure out of the 5th post position, trained by Bob Baffert. He's got speed. He could be on the lead. You've also got a chance of him pressing the pace a little bit with Scotland if Scotland wants to go to the lead. Scotland last time out did go wire to wire in the Curlin, but that's because he just was kind of the speed of that race. I think with National Treasure here, overall, Scotland will probably finish, start off second in this spot and concede that lead to National Treasure. Now, the other thing to look at when you take a look at this race, National Treasure, his best race, he had a little bit of time off from April 8th to the Preakness. That was like about 9-10 weeks. Now he gets another 9 or 10 weeks off from the Belmont Stakes to the Travers Stakes. He is going to be running straight from the Belmont to the Travers, just like Arcangelo. And then in the Woody Stevens, we had Arabian Lion. He is going to come from running in the Woody Stevens here to the Travers Day card. So some horses starting to take 8, 9, 10 weeks off between races. Now you've got Disarm. Kind of bet down as a little bit of a wise guy horse in the Jim Dandy Stakes. He was under 5-1. Of course, Forte was in that race. Angel of Empire was in that race. Saudi Crown. Sloppy track. Now he does get blinkers on for this race. He's by Gunrunner. Gunrunner ran a big race at Saratoga. He won the Whitney in his 5-year-old campaign. Winchell Thoroughbreds, Steve Asmussen winning last year with Epicenter and Disarm. I think with those blinkers on, going to be a little bit closer to the pace. He doesn't need to be on the lead, but I think Disarm, if it's a fast track, I like him more because he did win his maiden race by 6 lengths in his second lifetime start. He was kind of slow to start off the year. He had some ankle issues, kind of got behind on the Triple Crown scene, then ran an extra race in the Lexington to get in the Derby. Then with all the scratches, he didn't even need to run that extra race to get in the Derby. So Disarm, I definitely think, is one of those horses that you do have to take a second look at. The Jim Dandy may not be the most representative of this race here as he looks ahead to the Travers Stakes. So Disarm, definitely some points to consider with him. He gets the blinkers on, good trainer, sloppy track the last time out, but he went up in class the last time out, and he's been a little bit behind. His last real big effort was the Matt win. He got a 102 Beyer speed figure in that race. In the Kentucky Derby, he ran 4th to Mage, and he got a 100 Beyer speed figure in that race. But I don't know, that speed figure from the Kentucky Derby, Mage ran a career best speed figure in that race, a 105, but then he regressed to a 94 in the Preakness. Then he went to a 98 in the Haskell. So he's never really been able to match that 105. Of course, Forte with a 105 Beyer speed figure, that was a career high for him in the slot. But I always question when a horse gets a new Beyer speed figure lifetime top on a sloppy track. So just some things to consider for the Travers and some of these horses as you handicap the race. Now, Scotland out of the 7-hole, Bill Mott 0 for 11 in the Travers. Curlin winner, wire to wire, a 99 speed figure. So if you kind of take Mage as a 100 to 101 Beyer speed figure, you toss out his best race in the Derby, which he got a strong pace in that race to be able to run that 105. I don't think he's going to get that fast of a pace. We'll talk more about the pace later on in the show. Overall, I'm expecting a moderate pace. Now, Arcangelo might be strong enough to turn him loose before the stretch run. Castellano should know, though. Let's see what happens in that race. Good point overall on Arcangelo. Handicapping these longer layoffs, it's just part of the handicapping game now in 2023. Also, you got to handicap how these horses do with and without Lasix. And then 126 pounds, they're all going to carry here in the Travers Stakes. Remember, Scotland, he carried 120 pounds in the Curlin, 118 pounds at Churchill Downs. Now he's got to carry 126 pounds. So he's got to pick up 6 pounds and go 1.25 miles here. Just another thing to consider in the Travers Stakes when handicapping Scotland. So who is your Travers pick? My Travers pick in my Travers video was Arcangelo. That's based on a fast track. If it's a little bit of a sloppy track, I may take a look at National Treasure. But right now, I think it is going to be a decent track. And I'm going with Arcangelo. If you watch my Travers preview, I went over the pace of the race, watch some of the race replays. Who is your Travers pick? Give me your Travers pick for the 2023 Travers Stakes. Something to take a look at here as we go over. I want your picks for the race for the 2023 Travers. Again, morning line, Scotland at 12-1, Disarm at 8-1, National Treasure 8-1, Mage is 4-1, Tap a Trice at 12-1, 5-2 on Arcangelo, and 7-5 on Forte. Forte was 3-5 in the Jim Dandy, probably going to be right around even money, 6-5, and just something to consider. You get a little bit better price on Forte than you got on the Florida Derby when he was 2-5 and last time out at 3-5, but he picks up 2 pounds after winning that Jim Dandy. So give me your Travers pick as we continue along on the Travers Day handicapping show. Now, remember, we've got the 3 Triple Crown winners in this race. Mage won the Kentucky Derby. Arcangelo won the Belmont. National Treasure won the Preakness. Mage got a career high Beyer speed figure in the Kentucky Derby with a 105. Arcangelo got a career high Beyer speed figure in the Belmont with a 102. And it was National Treasure with a career high Beyer speed figure with a 98. Always something to consider whenever a horse runs their biggest race in these big Triple Crown races. You always wonder how long it's going to take to cycle back up to a big effort. Forte had a little bit of time off because he didn't run in the Kentucky Derby. And then now Arcangelo has had a little bit of a layoff, and the same thing with National Treasure. Maybe they can reproduce those type of efforts. So Tim Fredericks, he's going to be cheering on Arcangelo from the watch party. Yes, have a good watch party on Saturday. Of course, 13 races on Saturday at the Spa, starting off with a maiden 2-year-old race in race 1, ending with a wide open turf race in race 13, the race after the Travers Stakes. The Travers Stakes is going to be race number 12. And Gilbert, his pick is Arcangelo, Forte, and Mage. That's going to be his trifecta. And he's going to throw in National Treasure a little bit into that bottom half in that superfecta. So good luck to Gilbert on Saturday. Tim is going to be cheering on Arcangelo. Of course, Arcangelo, a nice upset winner. Arcangelo, almost 8-1 odds in the Belmont Stakes, 3-1 in the Peter Pan. Arcangelo has won 3 races in a row. He's on a little bit of a win streak. Forte, 7 for 9 lifetime. Remember, if you have a question on the Travers Day card, make sure to get your questions in. And also, who is your pick for the Travers Stakes 2023? Now, again, those jockey switches, Arcangelo with Javier Castellano. Mage is going to get Flavian Prat. You've got Tapit Trice with Jose Ortiz, and blinkers on for Disarm, blinkers on for Tapit Trice, and blinkers off for National Treasure. Forte wore blinkers in the Jim Dandy, and scheduled to wear him again here in the Travers Stakes. Again, that Travers field, Forte, the 7-5 morning line favorite. And Bill says he likes the fact that Castellano chose Arcangelo over Mage, and a little younger than most horses. Yes, born in May. Could have gotten a little bit bigger and stronger. Of course, Forte had some good 2-year-old form. He won the Hopeful at Saratoga. He won his maiden special weight in May of 2022. So he's got a lot of experience. Only 5 lifetime races for Arcangelo. Mage has only got 6 lifetime races. He did not run as a 2-year-old. And of course, we've got 2 Good Magics. Good Magic was second to Justify in the Kentucky Derby. He was second to Justify in the Preakness. Mage by Good Magic, his first crop. Scotland by Good Magic. And he's had some good horses on the Chilbert Triple Crown Trail. Tim Fredericks wants to know some of my thoughts on race number 2. That is a 5.5 furlong turf race. Empire Sky, I didn't really look at that race that closely yet, but take a look at that race. Of course, he got a nice win the last time. That was scheduled for the turf. It was rained off, and we'll see. When I did look at that race earlier, one of the horses I said to take a little bit of a look at was maybe Volkert. I like the broodmare side, the turf pedigree with that Rock of Gibraltar, that Ireland pedigree. So Volkert is one I would take a look at in that second race. Tom Kopp says he likes National Treasure for the Travers because of the jockey. Yes, we've seen on these big days. I think John Velasquez is riding better than any other big name jockey right now on these big races on the front end. Irad Ortiz is good. Jose Ortiz is good. I like Tyler Gaff Leone, but on the front end, I think John Velasquez is able to slow down that pace, and he always seems to save a little for that stretch run. So I agree with Tom Kopp on this one. I think John Velasquez at 8-1 with National Treasure. Whether he wins or not, I think he has the capability to take him a long way. Now, overall, the pace of the race, I think it's going to be moderate. Remember, the Jim Dandy was a little bit of a fast pace. You had Saudi Crown stretching out after a big effort in the Dwyer. He set fast fractions. Remember, we had a fast fractions in the Derby. We had a stretch runner run in Mage. We had slow fractions in the Preakness. We had a wire-to-wire winner in National Treasure, and we had a little bit slower pace. Arcangelo was able to save ground, and he won his third race, winning that Belmont race with a great ride from Javier Castellano. Remember, we've had close finishes in the Jim Dandy. We had a close finish in the Santa Anita Derby, a 3-horse finish. We had 3 horses on the wire. Lord Miles getting up at 50-1 in the Wood Memorial. We had a close finish with Blazing Sevens and National Treasure in the Preakness. We had 4 horses across the line in the Belmont Stakes. So I think this crop is very evenly matched. If Forte wins, he's the division leader. If Arcangelo wins, he's the division leader. So I think National Treasure, if he wins, whether you win the Preakness and the Travers, that's the Midsummer Derby, that is going to be the division leader. And even a chance like Scotland, who's 3 for 4, he wins that Travers. That kind of puts a little bit of a wrinkle into the 3-year-old rankings as well. I'm not sure he'd be the division leader, but he'd be one to think about, as he'd have another chance to maybe go to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile or the Breeders' Cup Classic, or maybe run in a race against older horses. So I think the pace of the race is going to favor Scotland and Arcangelo, because I think they're going to get first run on Mage and Forte. I think they're going to be sitting 4th and 5th. And we'll see. Of course, Forte had a monster in the Jim Dandy, a 105 Beyer speed figure, and he ran down the speed of the race, Saudi Crown, in that slop. So the pace overall of the race, I think, is going to be moderate. Now, the 5 stakes races on Saturday, race 7 is the Forgo, race 9 is the Jerkins. You've got the Ballerina on race 10. That's going to be Goodnight Olive versus Echo Zulu. Sword Dancer, the turf race in race 11, the Travers Stakes, race 12 on Saturday. The 2 3-year-old races, the Jerkins Stakes and the Travers Stakes, all part of a 2-day pick 6 let's start to go over the other stakes races on Saturday, starting off with the Forgo, race number 7. You've got a 5-horse field in that race. And before we go into that, who is your best bet of the day? Is it Elite Power? Is it going to be Forte? Is it going to be Mage? Is it going to be in race number 2? Is it going to be Empire Sky in race number 2 on the turf? Who is your best bet of the day at Saratoga? Leave a comment on your best bet of the day. Back to the Forgo 5-horse field. You've got High Oak, Gunite, Elite Power, Pipeline, and Synthesis. Of course, Elite Power and Gunite ran 1-2 in their most recent race. That was in the Vanderbilt, 124 pounds for Gunite. He drops 6 pounds. He goes to 118. Meanwhile, Elite Power carried 126 pounds in the Vanderbilt. He's going to carry 124 pounds in the Forgo on Saturday, and he's got to go 7 furlongs. Gunite has a little bit more speed. Don't forget, Pipeline ran 3rd in the Forgo last year, right behind Cody's Wish and Jackie's Warrior. So Pipeline, only 1 race in 2023. He kind of showed some speed and stopped at a mile. He cuts back to 7 furlongs in his second attempt in the Forgo for trainer Chad Brown. 12-1 on Pipeline. You don't see that too often. And again, if you're unfamiliar with Elite Power, 8 wins in a row. He lost the first 3 races of his career. He won the Augsburg by 6 lengths, the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He won in Saudi Arabia. He won the True North. He won the Vanderbilt. He's got 2 Grade 1 wins, the Breeders' Cup Sprint and the Vanderbilt. And he comes in riding an 8-race win streak, and he gets Irad Ortiz, one of the best in the business. High Oak, remember, he was a quality 2-year-old. He won the Saratoga Special. He had some injured splints, shin splints, a lightly raced 3-year-old campaign, couple of races here as a 4-year-old. He's by Gormley, of course, who won the American Pharoah Stakes a while back out west. And we'll see what happens with Elite Power, High Oak, Gunite, a big runner for Steve Asmussen, and then Elite Power for Bill Mott. Another question on the Travers: if Forte wears blinkers, likes to see that Arcangelo can take the quick lead, so no contact once they are out of the gate. I think that could happen. I think Forte is scheduled to wear blinkers. He's going to be a little bit further back because it's a little bit bigger field, and he doesn't have to worry about a horse like Saudi Crown stealing the race in the slop. A lot of people were on to Saudi Crown the last time they thought he had a chance to steal that race in the slop, in the Gin Dandy. And really, Forte, a big effort, a 105. He ran it down. Looks like he was going to lose again, and he ended up winning that race for Forte. Elite Power going to be probably about 1-2 on the morning line, probably 3-5 on the board in the Forgo on Saturday. If you have any thoughts on the Forgo or a pick in the Forgo, make sure to get that into the comments as we continue along on the race card. Of course, the Jerkins Stakes on Saturday going to go as race number 9. It kicks off the last 5 races of the day, which is a late pick 5. They do have a middle pick 5. Drew's Gold, kind of interesting. He ran a huge race in the Woody Stevens. He's a Kentucky bred. Then he ran second to Arabian Lion, picked up a 106 Beyer speed figure. Then they ran him in the Amsterdam. He lost to New York Thunder, who ran off the screen that day. Then Drew's Gold tried the turf last time out, kind of an interesting spot. So he's ran twice. Now he goes back down to the dirt, stretches back to 7 furlongs. He's not going to get an easy lead with New York Thunder in the race, but he did draw a good post position, 12-1 on Drew's Gold, inside draw. 1 in Vermilion. He gets the frequent flyer award of the year. He ran at Santa Anita. He won the Las Barrera. He ran at Canterbury Park in Shakopee, my hometown track in Minnesota. He ran at Prairie Meadows, the pride of Altoona, and he ran in the West Virginia Derby. He went to the mountains and tried to conquer the mountains. He ran against Red Route 1 the last time out. You've got Verifying, winner of the Indiana Derby, cuts back to 7 furlongs. His best race may have been at a mile at Oaklawn Park. One thing out, Verifying did win a maiden race at Saratoga last year as a 2-year-old. So Verifying may be a horse for course at 7 furlongs. He's 1 for 1 at Saratoga, first time running 7 furlongs. Now, Fort Bragg, he won the Dwyer. He beat Saudi Crown. Then Saudi Crown came back and ran second to Forte in the Jim Dandy the last time out. So Fort Bragg with a 106 Beyer speed figure. He ran second in the Pat Day Mile to General Jim. He set the pace, very fast fractions in the Florida Derby earlier this year. And we'll see Fort Bragg with Joel Rosario. He's by Tappet, 6 for 8 in the money, and one of 2 horses trained by Bob Baffert in the Jerkins. Now, New York Thunder, big effort last time out, won the Amsterdam at Saratoga. So he's got a win at Saratoga. He's got a win in his most recent race. He's 4 for 4 lifetime. He won at Gulfstream Park at 5 furlongs on the synthetic. He won at Woodbine on the synthetic. He's won on the turf, and he won at Saratoga. The big question mark for New York Thunder, he ran a 110 Beyer speed figure the last time. Does he bounce off that effort? And he's got to come back to 7 furlongs after winning 6.5 furlongs the last time. He ran 21-2, 43-2, a 107.3. All the speed figure makers gave him a big number on the Thoroughgraph, a big number on the Timeform US, a big number on the Beyer speed figures. New York Thunder, he is going to be 5-2 on the morning line. And then rounding out the field, the 2-1 favorite, Arabian Lion, the winner of the Woody Stevens, and Arabian Lion has rested since the Woody Stevens. Bob Baffert trains, John Velasquez ride, and Arabian Lion also won on Preakness Day. He won the Sir Barton Stakes at Pimlico, and he ran second to First Mission, who would have been one of the favorites for the Preakness Stakes before getting injured the week of the Preakness. So that's a look at the Jerkins, a 6-horse field, Arabian Lion, the 2-1 favorite, New York Thunder, a big win at the Amsterdam. He's 4 for 4 lifetime. Fort Bragg, the winner of the Dwyer, cuts back from the mile in the Dwyer to the 7 furlong time here in the Travers Day Jerkins Stakes. Anthony says New York Thunder could surprise here. Definitely 4 for 4, 2 for 2 on synthetic, 1 for 1 on Saratoga. And let's take a look at the next race. As we take a look at the Ballerina, it did draw an 8-horse field. Race number 10 on the day. It's right before the Sword Dancer. It's right after the Jerkins. And a nice field entered in this race. Sterling Silver, Matarea, the winner earlier this year on the Kentucky Derby weekend. Mary Quite Contrary. Wicked Halo for Steve Asmussen. He's also got the favorite, Echo Zulu. Goodnight Olive, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and a big effort that day. And also Caramel Swirl, the last time out, ran a big race against Goodnight Olive. The Ballerina Stakes, top horses, Echo Zulu, a big speed figure the last time out. Goodnight Olive, 6 for 7 at 7 furlongs, and a winner of her most recent race, winning the Bed of Roses at 2-5 on the board. Now, other contenders in this race, Echo Zulu, a career high 112 Beyer speed figure in the Honorable Miss. She's 3 for 3 at Saratoga, and she won as a 4-year-old at Saratoga. Then her previous win at Saratoga was in 2021. She won the Spinaway. That was at 7 furlongs, and the Ballerina is going to be 7 furlongs on Saturday. At the distance, she's 2 for 3 at 7 furlongs. So Anthony says he's going to go with Forte, Arcangelo, and Disarm in his try box. He thinks Disarm can run a good effort here. Of course, the Speed King picking Disarm. And we've got another selection. Jose says National Treasure and Arcangelo is going to be his exacta box. Good luck to Jose on Saturday on the Travers races. Definitely, you can make the case for Disarm. Price will be right, 8-1. Steve Asmussen, he won last year with Echo's epicenter, and then also with blinkers on. And I think a fast track would help disarm. And he does have a win at Saratoga, won by 6 lengths last year as a 2-year-old. That is the Ballerina Stakes. Of course, that is going to be race number 10 on Saturday. All right, who is your favorite most likely to win on Saturday? Forte, Elite Power, and Echo Zulu. Who do you think is the most likely to win of those 3 favorites on Saturday? Of course, Forte is going to be 6-5, Elite Power 1-2 on the morning line, and Echo Zulu with a 2-1. And Jose, question for Jose: are you a jockey? You got the inside scoop. That's what William wants to know. But Jose says he's going with the straight dope in this race. National Treasure, Arcangelo, box him up, bet it down, according to Jose. So who's your favorite most likely to win on Saturday? Forte, Elite Power, or Echo Zulu? William Morris says he said 12-1 on Disarm. Yes, nice odds. And Anthony says his best bet of the day of those 3, favorite most likely to win, is going to be Elite Power of those 3 horses. Also, the long shot of the day. Who is your long shot of the day? Can either be the stakes races or it can be any one of the other races. My long shot of the day, if you want to play a long shot, is going to be in the Sword Dancer. I think Soldier Rising has a little bit of a shot. Ran even in the Bowling Green the last time out. 1 win on the turf at Saratoga. I think it's a good distance for him, 1.5 miles. Stretches back out. He did run 4th in the Turf Classic at the Belmont meet at Aqueduct last year. So who is either your favorite most likely to win or your long shot of the day for Saturday? Williams says he's going to go with Arcangelo if Castellano turns him loose on early. So your long shot of the day on Saturday, part of the Travers Day card. Let's hear it from the fans out there as we take a look at that card on Saturday. Moving along, we've got the Jerkins preview that is already online on the channel if you want to watch that. Of course, we went down some of the runners in that race. The favorite in that race is Arabian Lion, 2-1, 5-2 on the Thunder, New York Thunder. Anthony says his long shot of the day is Disarm in the Travers Stakes. Also on the channel, we've got a Travers preview. We took a look at all the contenders, watched the replays, took a look at the pace. You can watch that as well before Saturday. Look for it, the Travers preview. We're going to have an update Friday morning with some of the updated jockey changes. Maybe some rain in the forecast for Saturday. So we'll see how that shakes out. Could maybe affect the Sword Dancer on Saturday. So Anthony's long shot is Disarm. His favorite of the day is Elite Power. Bill says the Speed King's long shot is 12-1 on Disarm on Saturday. Jose says National Treasure and Arcangelo is his Travers Day box. Meanwhile, Breeders' Cup coverage starts on the channel here. I'll be covering the Breeders' Cup with updates every single day, starting on September 1st, all the way up until the first Saturday in November. Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. We're going to be going over all the fields, watching the replays, taking a look at the Europeans. This coverage starts September 1st on the channel for the Breeders' Cup, your home for Breeders' Cup coverage. So again, who is your long shot of the day? William D. Pina says Disarm. His countryman, Joel Rosario, he likes Disarm. He is going with Anthony, who is also his long shot. So good luck on Saturday with Joel Rosario. Of course, Joel Rosario got a big mount in the Personal Ensign. Big day on the day for Joel Rosario, possibly, as he's got some stakes runners on the day. He's got Fort Bragg. And Jose says his trifecta box is 254, and that is in the Travers Stakes on Saturday. So that is a look at some of those. And also, you've got the Ballerina Stakes, a chance for some big jockey days on Saturday. Flavian Prat going to ride for Godolphin Blue, Matt Araya. He now jumps on Mage. Of course, New York Thunder, big effort the last time out. New York Thunder getting Tyler Gaff Leone And of course, Tyler Leone rode him the last time. Interesting, New York Thunder has ran 4 races. He's had 3 different jockeys. He's ran on 3 different surfaces, and he's still undefeated, 4 for 4 lifetime. Arabian Lion with a career high speed figure in the Woody Stevens, winning the Woody Stevens with a speed figure with a 109 in that Woody Stevens. Again, the favorite most likely to win on Saturday. Who is your favorite most likely to win on Saturday? Now, the Sword Dancer, not some of the top level quality for the turf division. Rebels Romance had to scratch a couple of weeks ago in the Bowling Green, didn't make it over to the big race, the Arlington Million at Colonial Downs. Set Piece won that race. Soldier Rising in there. Verstappen, who's ran some big races this year, looks for his first win at Saratoga. 1 win last year, 1 second place finish last year at Saratoga. 15 starts, 4 wins, but second time running in a grade 1. He ran evenly in the Man of War Stakes earlier this year to Red Knight. Of course, Red Knight won that as a 9-year-old. Bolshoi Ballet has lost 10 straight races. He's 5-1, gets John Velasquez for Aidan O'Brien in the Sword Dancer. Then you've got Pioneering Spirit, 8-1. He scratched out of the race yesterday at Saratoga, and Linda Rice sends that one out. She's having a big Saratoga meet. 4 straight wins for Pioneering Spirit. So Travers should be an awesome race. Agree with you on that one. Of course, Mike Smith says Arcangelo going to save ground, tracks National Treasure, and going to try to give him the signal and draws off. So that's how they lay it out on paper. Let's see if that can happen on the track. A lot of people seem to like Arcangelo. Been training well since the Belmont Stakes. Anthony likes Verstappen as well. He's ran some big races this year. Yes, and then, of course, you've got Channel Maker, the 9-year-old, big effort in the Bowling Green. He seems to do well at Saratoga. 10 lifetime races at Saratoga, 3 wins, and coming off a win in the Bowling Green. And the favorite, 6-5 in that race, Chad Brown, sends out Stone Age. Interesting, Stone Age hasn't run since February, trained by Chad Brown. Been working out strong in August, worked out on August 20th, August 13th, August 6th, July 28th, and July 19th. Of course, he's by Galileo. He'll be running all day long. Stone Age, a little bit of a losing streak. His last win was in Ireland in May of 2022, and he did run at Saratoga. He ran 5th to Nation's Pride in the Saratoga Derby Invitational last year as a 3-year-old. I assume they're bringing him over. Possibility here for the course running at Saratoga, maybe go to Belmont and then get him ready for the Breeders' Cup turf at 1.5 miles. His best races, 1.25 miles to 1.5 miles. Of course, he ran in the Epsom Derby last year as a 3-year-old, 1.5 miles. And then he did run in the Champion Stakes against older horses as a 3-year-old. 6-5 on the morning line, but I think you can take a look at Verstappen, and I also like Soldier Rising as a little bit of an upset. Bolshoi Ballet, not good current form, a long losing streak, but he did run second at Royal Ascot. So at Ascot in the Wolferton Stakes, that was in June. So we'll see what happens with Bolshoi Boy. He's got John Velasquez on and 5-1 on the morning line. So big day on Saturday, all part of the action. Remember, we've got more coverage of the Breeders' Cup starting up on September 1st, daily coverage. If you can, smash that like button, share it with your friends, support the channel any way possible if you can, and share, like, subscribe as we give you more continuing coverage of Del Mar, Saratoga. Next week, of course, we got the Pacific Classic, Go Rocket Ride, and Arabian Night. We've got Defunded, possibility of a full field of 10 or 11 in the Pacific Classic. We've got the Hopeful Stakes still to come at Saratoga on closing day. We've got the Spinaway Stakes. And Anthony says with his heart, it's Jenna and Arcangelo. He'll be there. William says, yes, Jen learned from D. Wayne Lucas. So yes, some good trainers. You've got Jenna Antonucci, Steve Asmussen. You've got Bill Mott. Bob Baffert, and of course, the coach running out Secret Oath tomorrow in the personal ensign. Some big races, 2-day pick 6, Friday, Saturday. Pick 5 starts the last 5 races of the day on Saturday. There's also a pick 5 in race number 8. So there's kind of a middle pick 5. And then there is also a $1 pick 6 on Saturday. Lots of betting options. And my pick in the Belmont Stakes is Arcangelo. You can watch my Belmont preview on the channel. Give me your best bet of the day. If you're watching in the replay section, smash that like button. And as D. Wayne Lucas always says, remember, people have opinions. On Saturday, horses are going to have the facts.